So I put out a call to my Facebook and Twitter followers to see if there was anything they wanted me to discuss on this episode, and these are the results. Welcome to the first Q&A. Let's run down some of these and see if I can't give a satisfying answer. And Mr. Robbie Green asked if I could talk about the Mortal Kombat cartoon from the 90s. Good old Defenders of the Realm. Now, I have fond memories of the show from when I was a kid. My brother and I used to watch it all the time. We loved Mortal Kombat back in the day. When I was in college, I got my hand on a digital copy of the show. So I sat down and watched about 4 episodes before I gave up and never watched it again. Basically, if you look up the phrase "doesn't age well" in the dictionary, Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm is going to be listed as an example. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not that the show didn't age well, it's that the show was just never good, and I didn't know that because I was 9 when the show aired. See, part of the problem is that the story of Mortal Kombat is based on a very violent and bloody martial arts tournament, like an old Japanese kung fu movie. Defenders of the Realm is basically Super Friends. I mean, they flew around in dragon-shaped jets for f***'s sake. Probably the most disappointing thing about the show is that it had a stellar voice cast. I mean, a who's who of cartoon legends, basically. I mean, you got people like Ron Perlman, Olivia d'Abo, Dorian Harewood, Cree Summer, Clancy Brown, Luke frickin' Perry, John Vernon. Yeah, the Dean from Animal House was Shao Kahn in the Mortal Kombat cartoon. That man deserves better. Now, I'll give the show this. There are definitely parts where you can tell that the creators were trying to age it up a little bit. For example, click somewhere here to see a clip from the episode where they resurrect Shang Tsung. Pretty gnarly. Moving on, Alex Custer asks, which came first, the chicken or Batman? Well, that's just a stupid question. Everybody knows it's Kevin Bacon. Rob Grimsley writes, remember that early 2000s X-Men cartoon when they just stuck in a new mutant that never existed before? I think his name was Spike. The f*** was that about? Well, Mr. Grimsley is of course referring to X-Men Evolution, the animated series that ran from 2000 to 2003. The series is notable for sending the entire X-Men cast to high school. Yeah. Now, instead of learning about their powers at the Xavier Institute and trying to deal with the socio-political prejudices that the X-Men stories are known for, X-Men Evolution dealt with things like, will Nightcrawler be able to get a date because he looks like a blue elf? Or, oh no, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants has interrupted the football game. And besides the fact that pretty much everybody was a teenager on that show, Professor X, Magneto, Storm, Wolverine, and Beast were all still adults. So it really doesn't seem like the creators committed to the whole mutants in high school theory. Then again, I don't think anybody wants to see Wolverine in high school. That'd just be odd. Now, to be fair, there were some good episodes. There was one where they flashed back to World War II with Captain America and Wolverine fighting side by side. That's pretty cool. And this show was the first appearance of X-23, the female clone of Wolverine. And like Harley Quinn before her, she was so popular they added her to the comics. Unlike the character of Spike mentioned earlier. Spike was with the show from the beginning, and they explained him to be Storm's son, which she doesn't have in the comics. He was essentially forced down our throats, like the producers desperately wanted us to like him and accept him. In the end, he really was just a footnote in the show, and he never really made an impact outside the comics, so it's nothing to lose sleep over. Now, I haven't seen the show since it originally aired, so I don't know if these episodes hold up or not, but if I remember correctly, there was an episode where the girls have a shopping montage, which is exactly what I want to see in an X-Men cartoon. Wishes to remain anonymous, that's a strange name, wants me to discuss comics and historical accuracy and inaccuracy. Now, this is a great topic and one I'd love to discuss in further detail. However, this is going to be an episode that requires a lot of preps, because as much as I know about history, I don't know enough to just do an episode off the cuff. Best I can do off the top of my head is Frank Miller's 300. I wouldn't say it's inaccurate historically, but it's definitely a very cartoonish representation of the events that happened. This is definitely a topic I want to give proper justice to, and one I will most likely be revisiting sometime down the line. Maybe I'll bring in one of my history teacher friends who isn't afraid of a little internet stardom. Speaking of being on the show, Matt Falo writes, I'll come on as I am a nerd and a black belt. He's also single, ladies. Matt will talk. Have a topic ready. Next up, my father trolls. How about getting nerds to exercise more than their thumbs? Now, I could post links to studies that shows playing Super Mario 64 actually increases brain size, or how surgeons who play video games actually wind up being better surgeons, or how exercise games like Wii Fit and Wii Fit Plus were some of the best-selling games of the last 10 years. But I'm not going to do that, because my dad is terrible at Rogue Squadron on the N64, and I feel really bad for him. And lastly, Matt Delatorre writes in asking for advice on getting started and reading comics. See, the problem with this question is that there's really more than one right answer. It's got a lot of parts and require a whole episode on its own to do justice. So you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Mr. D, your question gets its own episode. So I guess you win. It's now a contest and you win. The prize is a smug sense of superiority, I guess. So stay tuned for that, and thanks again everybody who wrote in helping me make this episode. I really appreciate it. Like if you like, subscribe if you really like, leave comments, share with your friends. Stay tuned for the next part. Also, Scott Lobdell announced that Teen Titans will be ending with issue 30, but I'll be honest, that book sucks, and I haven't liked anything Scott Lobdell has done in DC since the New 52, so I don't care.
It's just long snoot, so okay. So whatever. I'll give it to you. Snout. Actually, that's kind of really wrong, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway.